Let's talk about the new Yellowjackets Season 3, Episode 8, A Normal Boring Life. Y'all, we finally got an answer to something we've been debating since the first trailer came out a couple of months ago. And we finally know it. Yes, indeed, Hilary Swank is playing Melissa. How did we get here? Let's get into it. Hit that subscribe button, notification bell. We got a couple episodes left before the finale. And you know this is where we discuss all things Yellowjackets, the ending, as well as a theory video coming out this Monday for Episode 9, which has an interesting title, which we'll talk about as well in that video. Let's get into this video, which starts off with Shauna working at a grocery store and having a vision of Jackie. So I think that this vision really sums up everything that happens at the end of the episode here. We see Shauna's fear is to go back and lead a normal, boring life, just as the title says. I think Shauna, alongside some of the other Yellowjackets, which we'll talk about at the end, are very much so feeling like here in the wilderness and with all of the Yellowjackets and everything happening, they are sort of thriving in a life that they don't think they can have if they go back to normal life. So that's what's really going to be the whole, I think, situation going into the last two episodes is they don't want to go back because they don't think they have a normal life after this. So back in the present time, we do see that Alex is found by Shauna and in her home, and we had a lot of theories about what was going to be the situation here. Now, I didn't know how old Alex was, so my theory was that Melissa, of course, was still alive and was Hilary Swank. That's been the theory I've had since the very beginning. I always believed that that was Melissa who Hilary Swank was playing. It just wouldn't make sense to put an actress like at the caliber and I think the exposure Hilary Swank has as just a newcomer. It always made sense she had to be one of the survivors, and the emphasis that Melissa had throughout the season, especially now in the later episodes, really made it just more solidified. Yes, indeed, Hilary Swank is Melissa. So what we come to find out is that Melissa and Alex are actually married, and this is something that Melissa tells Shauna. So throughout this episode, we see Melissa and Shauna have a back and forth, each one of them holding a knife because they can't trust each other. We quickly find out that the rest of the Yellowjackets, including Shauna up until a point, believed that Melissa was dead, but it turns out that Melissa actually faked her death and changed her name to Kelly in order to be able to get away from them. We also find out that indeed Hannah told Melissa at a point whenever they were together where to find these tapes, that she wanted her to get to her daughter in case something happened to her. And of course, we know that Hannah does in fact die, and Melissa did get the tape but couldn't come to show it to her daughter, and in turn actually fell in love when she got to know her. Now, she did send the tape to Shauna because she realized what was going on with the whole compound with Lottie and things like that, which is something I theorized as well before, that this actually made news and this maybe made the trigger for Melissa to come back and try to tie up those ends. Now, Melissa says what she's doing in fact is actually something her therapist says, which is to let go of the past, and letting go of this tape was the first step, and she wanted Shauna and the rest of the Yellowjackets to do the same. More specifically Shauna, because it was sort of sent to Shauna with a note, which Melissa says she sent a note. We do know there is a note that was attached to the tape, but Callie did not give this note to Shauna for whatever reason. We'll get to that in theories at the end. We also find out from Melissa that she is not behind the brakes getting cut, being stuck in a freezer, or leaving that cell phone for Shauna to find. That has to be somebody else, according to Melissa, because all she wants is closure and to move on with her life. She likes having a boring life. She likes being married, going to church, working a job, which is something we also hear teen Melissa tell to Shauna right before they go on their rescue expedition. But we'll get to that in a bit. Let's finish off with the present timeline here, because we do see that Jeff and Callie are still in the hotel room and they're stuck there. They are pretty much prisoners to Shauna's paranoia because Shauna doesn't want them out or anything like that. And we see that Callie and Jeff start to reach a breaking point. Is Shauna making all of this up? Is she just paranoid? Does she need to be like put away somewhere? It's kind of what the conversation is going for, because I think Callie and Jeff are definitely reaching a boiling point where it's just getting too much with Shauna and everything going on with her. Maybe she just never recovered from what happened out there, and that's why she needs the help. And you know, I think that Jeff and Callie are starting to see the light of sorts. We see with Misty and Ty that they get the news that Van might have to move to hospice care because she doesn't really have any like silver lining left. But we see that Ty quickly reverts back to maybe sacrificing somebody in the hospital in order to give Van a little bit more life. And Misty's pretty like against this and kind of weirded out by it. We see that Evil Ty is full on out and probably is going to go forward with this one. Gave us a good one-liner when Ty was trying to kill that one man and then he just dies. And she's just like, wait, but does it count though? Because I was here, even though she didn't do it. I thought that was such a hilarious line right there. We do see that Misty calls Jeff trying to find out where Shauna is. And we see Jeff spiraling because of this, because he doesn't know what's going on. And there's been some theories back and forth if Shauna actually killed Lottie, because Shauna does confront Melissa about the death of Lottie and asks if she did it. And Melissa seems to not even be aware that Lottie had died either. So I feel like Shauna didn't do it, Melissa didn't do it, and it's pointing that maybe it's somebody who we've not been suspecting at all, which we'll talk about in the end and more in our theory video on Monday. Now, by the end of the present timeline, we see that Melissa has had enough. She clearly says that she wants to just live her life, and her and Shauna have a back and forth about what it is to lead a normal life. Shauna says, is it really normal, the life you're living, if you're with the daughter of the woman that we killed and you haven't told her the truth, that you knew her mother and all of this? Is that really you living your truth? And of course, Melissa says, what about you? Everything you've done, does your family know everything you've done? Your daughter and all of this? And are you the one living the lie as well? Are you the one that thrives on just having chaos around you and just having all of these lies and just being encircled by this feeling of you're in charge, you're the one in power? And once you don't have that and life becomes mundane, quote unquote boring, then you're seeking out these thrills again and you want things to go back to how it was in the wilderness. Is that who you are, Shauna? Which pretty much clocks Shauna pretty well, I think, Melissa, right there. But we do see that it eventually leads to them getting into a struggle, and this is where I'm just like, Shauna Shipman has completely lost, and maybe she's always lost it, but this is where she really shows us it is beyond repair when she goes, bites Melissa, tears a piece of her flesh off, and tells her, hey, why don't you eat this? Eat it or I destroy your whole life, basically. And that's where the episode ends for the present timeline. Now let's go back to the past. Let's rewind a bit, y'all. Maybe this is a better way to talk about the episodes. What do y'all think? Let me know in the comments down below. I don't want to just go back and forth. Let's just do the present and then we'll do the past. So past timeline, the teenage years, what is going on there? So of course we know in the previous episode they took Hannah hostage. They're trying to find out what she knows. Can she save them, get her back to civilization? In the other side of the group we have Akilah and Travis, who are now with Kodiak and trying to find a way out themselves. Now, Travis wants to get out, and his plan is we'll get out first, Akilah, with Kodiak, then we'll bring help and get the rest of the Yellowjackets. Akilah is not so sure about this. She kind of feels that they should let the other ones know, and behind Travis' back, she leaves a trail for them to find, which Misty does so and alerts the other ones that they can find a way out. Now, before all of this, we saw them questioning Hannah about if she knows about them, if anybody's looking for them, which causes a lot of tension between Shauna, Natalie, because Shauna's very adamant and very pissed that no one might be looking for them and that Hannah's not giving them information. But of course, this was something that was very much so happening months ago. So as we know with the news cycle, once it's not trending, then something else starts trending, and maybe they really aren't in the know or in the middle of the storm per se, right? Like maybe at the beginning people knew that this happened to them, but somebody like Hannah, who has no connection to them or really just maybe saw it in passing, wouldn't know it. Like how many of the news stories you heard last year would you remember really off the top of your head if they don't directly impact? I think that's the thing here going on with Hannah. She's not trying to come off as rude, but she really just doesn't know much more about this. Maybe the Yellowjackets family are still on the hunt. Maybe the people in their hometown or statewide are still on the hunt, but I feel like somebody like Hannah might not know much about it. So it definitely was a bit unfair for Hannah to get criticized like that about it. And we have a back and forth between Natalie and also Shauna about who in fact is the leader. And Natalie says, well, our captain's actually dead. You're not the captain, which kind of stings for Shauna, I feel, remembering what happened to Jackie. All of this is interrupted when Misty says, I know where Kodiak and Travis and Akilah are. They left a trail. And they eventually surround them, and we see that they say they got to go back to the camp, and Travis just complies. Once back at the camp, they ask Kodiak if he can get them out of here, and he says, yeah, it's going to take 6 days, though, to get us all completely out of here, so you better pack. So they all start packing, and that's when we start to see the doubt so in between some of the Yellowjackets. We see Van and Ty have a discussion about if it's the right move to get out of here. Will Van and Ty still be able to be together out in the world? Is there a way that they can confirm that nobody will say what happened out here? A pact of silence has to be held. And is everybody in the group really going to do that? That's the biggest question here. Van is ready to leave, and it seems that Ty is just sowing fear in between them, but Van is like, no, we're getting out of here. You see the same thing with Melissa and Shauna as well, where Melissa's basically saying like, hey, I'm ready to get out of here. I want to go to college. I want to start a job. I just want to have a normal, boring life. It doesn't matter. I just want to get out. We see that Shauna, though, doesn't feel this way. She sees the moss she sees at the beginning of the episode when she was having that sort of dream vision of Jackie. And in a way, you can see that the moths are sort of attracted to the light, but that doesn't mean it's good for them, as it can eventually lead to their death as well. And I think that Shauna is interpreting this as Kodiak is the light. He leads us to the light, to the rescue, quote unquote. But is that really what we need, or is that really a closer way to our demise? I think that's what Shauna really is thinking about as well. And both teen Shauna and adult Shauna have clearly spiraled out of control this whole season, and this episode was undoubtedly like the biggest one, right? Akela starts having a vision where everything in the campgrounds, from the plants to the animals, start dying off, and her and Lottie talk about this as well. But we do see that Lottie doesn't want to leave. She clearly states that at the beginning when they're talking about rescue, but they sort of dismiss it and continue to pack their bags. When it's time to leave and Kodiak and Hannah are up, they start to tell everybody, well, y'all, let's get out of here. Toodles, this was the last season. But no, Shauna, Ty, and Lottie decide to stay, they say. And this leads us to be like, okay, we're going to get another season, because in 2 episodes, this is not going to wrap up, y'all. This is not going to wrap up. But Natalie says, you know what? If Shauna, if Ty, if Lottie want to stay here, fuck them. They can stay here and we're out of here. But Shauna says, nobody's leaving anymore. And we just see like, what is Shauna gonna do? How is she gonna hold them back? I mean, but that's pretty much where the episode ends, y'all. It ends with adult Shauna doing this very drastic thing of tearing Melissa's flesh off and trying to feed her that one, and teen Shauna deciding that nobody's leaving now. You all stay here in the wilderness, and that's that. And she doesn't give a reason why. It's just because she wants to. So clearly Shauna has completely spiraled and is definitely villain number 1 in the whole show right now. Let's talk about what's coming next, though. So let's briefly just discuss it. This was a great episode. I really enjoyed it. There are so many moments throughout, so many questions and answers given throughout, and just 2 episodes left, y'all. 2 episodes left. How the story ends in full circle. Those are the names of the episodes. That really clearly gives me a feeling that we're going to see a shift happen here. Now, from what I've gathered from the trailers that we've gotten in the past, what we haven't seen before, because there hasn't been a trailer yet for the next episode like they usually do, so I can't give you that just yet. Once we get that trailer, hopefully by Monday, I'll include it in the theory so we know what's going on. We do see that the Yellowjackets will be in the snow now. Fall is clearly here when we see them, and I think that winter's right around the corner. So what do I think happens in the next episodes? Here's my brief thoughts on it. I think that we do see this chase ensue, because clearly Melissa is going to be running from Shauna, as you can see right here in these pictures that haven't happened yet. And of course, now we know that bandage is where Shauna had actually bit Melissa to give her the flesh. So we're going to be seeing that happen there. Now, here is where I'm starting to wonder if this is where we see my theory, where the Yellowjackets sort of split and we have 2 different packs who try to do their own thing, right? And one of the other packs starts hunting the other one. Because what do you think's going to happen? I really believe that Kodiak is not going to make it all the way through. He might be killed by somebody, and the other ones are lost in the wilderness of sorts. And then there's like a whole hunting going on happening, right? I don't know exactly who the people are here. It's kind of hard to tell, especially because they're like bandaged up. One of them here looks like the Antler Queen almost, or the one that looks at Pit Girl, which is what I'm wondering as well. And then this one right here, I don't know if that's Lottie or if that's Mari, but that's definitely one of the 2. Like, it just looks like it to me, but I don't know. We could definitely be seeing that as well. And then the question is, who is Pit Girl, right? Look at these pictures right here. I'm going with Hannah, like many people have said. I think it could definitely be Hannah, and she's like one of the last ones they kill, and then they get rescued, which causes it to be even more crazy when it happens, because like we saw with Coach, he didn't really have to die. And then with Hannah, it's like, oh, we just killed her and she didn't have to die, right? That's definitely how Yellowjackets is done, I feel. But now the biggest things here is, why would Callie withhold that note from Shauna, right? Like, Shauna just got the tape, and I hadn't even realized she didn't give her the note until Melissa talks about the note, and Shauna's like, I don't know what you're talking about the note, which could have been a way for like Shauna to prevent going berserk and going out here to find Melissa, Kelly now, and just everything could have been prevented, but Callie chose to withhold that note and sort of showcase it as a manipulation thing and sort of tie it back to Lottie's death on her own, in a sense, making Shauna spiral even more. So, do I think Callie wants Shauna out of the picture? I feel that Callie feels that Shauna is definitely unhinged. We don't know what Lottie might have told Callie as well about Shauna and what she did out there. Maybe Lottie just expressed everything that happened, and Callie just feels that they are bad people, and Callie wants to be far away from her mom as possible. So sending her on this unhinged expedition to find Melissa and do whatever Shauna was planning to do or will do in the next couple of episodes would make sense as a way to get Shauna out of the picture and feel sort of quote unquote safe. And I think that Shauna is starting to clock this, and I'm kind of scared for Callie because Shauna is definitely able to pull off things that we never thought she would pull off and go to those dark places. So we'll see what happens. But I do believe Callie is sort of more behind the scenes than we initially expected. Maybe she's seeking out answers and it's created a struggle between the two, and Lottie ultimately accidentally fell. I don't think it was intentional if it was Callie, but I think Callie just wants to get away from her mom as fast as possible because it is just getting out of control, and clearly Shauna is spiraling a lot. Now, what do I think is happening with the Yellowjackets in the coming 2 episodes? I believe that that's where we see a split happen. I think Natalie and Travis will go with the ones that are more rationale, wanting to leave, and I still believe that Shauna and Ty and Lottie are able to sort of bring in at least 2 or 3 more girls with them and try to sort of say we are in the right and all of that, and Kodiak is going to lead to our demise, right? That's where I see the split of the factions happening in the next coming 2 episodes, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. And of course, we will definitely find out what happened to Lottie in the last episode. Apparently, that's what we've heard. And I think that's definitely going to tie up everything up. And I'm just curious how we go into season 4 now, because we are about a month or a couple of months away from rescue. Do they survive one more winter? And that's what the next season will be about? Or do we just see like a complete resolution in the next season, right? Apparently, the show is going to go on for 5 seasons. I'm just not sure how much more they'll stretch it out. Some theorize that it could be about them sort of adapting back to their normal lives. We do hear about what they did when they came back, but it's never been shown or really teased and talked about as much. But apparently they got a little bit crazier when they came back with the adjustment. And I think that's going to be something that could be potentially for another season to showcase. So we'll see what happens. Let me know your thoughts and opinions below. We'll talk about it in our theory video on Monday, but just want to throw out those quick little things out there as well. Let me know your thoughts and theories. It was an insane episode. A lot of things going into the final 2 episodes, which we will talk about as well in our theory video. And we'll do a video on Pit Girl, Antler Queen, and all of that pretty soon, so stay tuned for it. But as always, make sure you follow us, hit that subscribe button. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on all of this, and what do you think is happening next in the comments down below. As always, stay safe, stay positive.